Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Once again, this is your host, Cipher, and welcome back to the Devil's Advocate Debate Club. Today, I've got an extra special episode of In Defense of the Indefensible. But first, I'd like to give a quick update on our first debate. Rational Wrongthink and I have decided to expand the topic. So for those of you who knew what was coming, it will now be about whether or not a utopia is achievable or even desirable, as opposed to focusing just on Universe 25, though I'm sure the beautiful ones will come up at some point during rebuttals. Now, on to today's subject. I will be defending Gillette, because I've seen a lot of people attacking them. In fact, I haven't really seen anyone defending them, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And even their parent company, Procter & Gamble, I believe it is. Now, in this era of social justice, it's increasingly hard for an individual or even a company to know where they stand with, well, the hate mobs that can exist on either side. Normally speaking, in my experience, and I think if you go back through the data, this will be supported, people on the left are more likely to boycott items that, well, don't express their political views than people on the right. I'm not sure which mentality is actually better. Oh, this hill is a bit slippery. However, it's definitely, in some ways, in a company's best interest to appeal to the people who are most likely to punish them for not appealing. In that sense, as we've seen more and more companies turning to social justice, Ben & Jerry's Resist flavor, among others, it's not surprising to see a company take preemptive strikes. Procter & Gamble, I believe it was last year, did a commercial that was essentially a bunch of black families in America talking to their kids about what it would be like to grow up black. And that one, while I don't necessarily agree with everything said in it, was mostly a good message, which wasn't an attack on anyone. I'm seeing lots of people say that what's different about Gillette's current ad is that it is an attack on males and masculinity. But let's talk about that from the company's perspective for a moment. Masculinity was recently defined almost as a mental health concern. The things which are considered toxic masculinity are spreading more and more into what was once traditional masculinity. Not sure whether this is right or wrong. However, it's certainly something which companies can see happening and which commercial analysts would have to be prepared for. So, having a company like Gillette, or their parent company, Procter & Gamble, take a preemptive strike makes a certain degree of sense. People are taking sides in this culture war. And since most people on the right haven't boycotted, it's given companies an incentive to appeal more and more to left-wing ideologies. Now, Gillette's caught in an interesting position where most of their users are men, but they do still sell products to both sexes. They, with all of the different things being said about toxic masculinity these days, could certainly expect an attack coming. It is certainly not surprising that they've attempted to preempt this, and the way in which they did so could have been a lot worse. People talk about it as an attack on men because it's showing some of the good things that men do as outliers. But at least it's not attacking masculinity at its very base. It does differentiate between toxic masculinity, even if that is becoming an expanded term. And it does show men doing good things, which, as far as companies attempting to appeal to the intersectionality or simply to feminism that has become so popular in our country, it's really not one of the worst attempts that I've seen. So the fact that this is the one that has started a boycott, and that of all of the different products that right-wing consumers could have chosen to draw the line in the sand over, so to speak, I guess they just didn't want to give up their Ben & Jerry's over the Resist flavor, or Burger King's Whoppers over the Hamburgers comment. But, we can find another razor. Ooh, look, it's a heron. Oh, I was hoping it'd fly this way. That was a great blue heron. We have them out here. I'll try and get one on camera. He likes to hang out in this little gully sometimes. Anyway, I definitely think Procter & Gamble and Gillette could have done better, but I definitely think we've seen companies do worse without the boycott. And so I'd just like to ask you guys, why Gillette? Was this the grain of sand that broke the camel's back, so to speak? Or was there something special about this case that, really got the salt mines going? Anyway, this is a little bit of an impromptu video because I wanted to do something while this topic was still at least somewhat current. But thank you all for bearing with my continual efforts to learn how to use a camera, and for watching the Devil's Advocates Debate Club. This has been Louis Cipher, and I hope to see you all again soon.